how's the opening of the exhibition?
Well, we're exhausted, Leah. We're absolutely exhausted. I can't tell you how hard we've worked. We were working, we said we'd launch at midday, and we launched at midday, but there were problems. So it's taken us a little bit of time to sort out the problems. But it's all up.
Interesting that you decided to open gallery now, and I mean, in general, it's really impressive that you were working throughout this whole time, because it's, I think, really hard for artists at the moment. So I don't know, you can maybe just start with introducing yourself and your work, and how were you coping during the lockdown?
Well, as I said, I was on the course. I'm diabetic, and when COVID happened, I realized that I would be shielding for a very long time, and that it wasn't really practical for me to finish the course. And so I decided to defer. At the same time, I carried on painting, and in fact, I decided to do a big painting on COVID, which I've got in the show actually, which is called After COVID Hope, which depicts a bonfire of cruise ships and jumbo jets on a sea of graves beneath a sky of coronavirus. But there's a diptych, and up on the upper section there's a phoenix rising from the ashes, and the kind of sustainable lifestyle of natural and cultural pursuits. Anyway, so I've carried on painting, but I decided that that we had done this show in the APT Gallery in Deptford, which was closed down by COVID, the lockdown, and everybody was we were glad to get the show up, but obviously disappointed that it had to close. And there was a request, why don't we put it online? And as all of a sudden I didn't have the pressures that everybody else had, like Tiana, to finish the course, I decided I would divert my energies to creating not just an online show for us, but really a new organization to bring us together as a community of artists coming out of Central St. Martin's, to nurture really our emergence into the world of art as professionals. And I put that idea to everybody, and I got 28 people joining immediately. So that's what I've been doing with my partner Sarah for the last 2 months. We decided that's what we were going to focus on. I haven't really introduced myself. Did you ask me, should I do that as well?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, so I'm Simon Hodgkinson. I'm a mature student. I've spent my life as a management consultant, working on environmental issues. But I did that on an international stage, and a lot of my work was with big organizations like the World Bank and United Nations and so on, and it gave me the skills to build organizations, develop new ideas. So I guess that's what equips me to set up something like this. I can carry on talking about the the way in which we've decided to do this?
Yeah, you can. I also just wanted to ask you because you mentioned that you did the work of art on COVID. So
Yeah.
did you see from other artists as well? Were they inspired by the situation? Did you see other works of art inspired by COVID as well?
Nothing particularly comes to mind. I did actually right at the beginning. I did a residency, which was supposed to be a physical residency, but it turned out to be an online residency where I combined with some other artists who were also in lockdown, and there was a lot of well, thinking about the issues, the COVID issues during that residency. But not a lot of art was produced on the residency, so I can't say I've seen art of other artists on COVID. But maybe I've been so focused on the group of artists I'm working with, and most of the works that are there have been undertaken before COVID. I think mine's the only one that's entirely new.
So at the moment today, you had the online opening, and how is it going now? How was the opening today? What are the plans for the future for the next few months when the exhibition is on?
Right. So we've got a short term and a long term, or medium term, I should say. In the short term, we need to become better known. And we'll do that by, at the moment, we've just got 1 or 2 works per artist, and we'll start to add works on a daily basis. There's a list in the Artland site of new works that are put on across all the galleries every day, and we want to be at the top of that list every day with new works for a couple of months. I mean, we've got, probably 300 works waiting to be uploaded. That will enable us to keep the attention on us for the next 3 months, and hopefully that'll as I told you yesterday, we also got an Instagram feed which now has around 500 followers, which I'd like to get up to a few thousand followers in the next couple of months, and we'll do whatever we can to raise our profile, like interviews. I mean, I've gone out to the press, to the listings, and so on, and hopefully we'll get more interest. But our ambitions are to go way beyond this. I've set this up as really a collaborative venture. We have meetings, well, actually it's been once every 2 weeks, but I want to make it once a month, Zoom meetings where we have 20 to 30 people join, and I invite people to put ideas on the table about what we should do next. Up until now, we've been very focused on the online exhibition and the idea of putting photos of the artists in their studios, and we're doing that in viewing rooms and little art talk videos, maybe two artists interviewing each other, and we'll put a little video up and so on. So lots of things like that we'll add to the site. But at the same time, I think I mentioned that one of the artists, Eduardo, who's Portuguese, was talking to me about the fact he's locked down in Lisbon, and that he was looking at whether or not he could organize an exhibition for all of us in Lisbon at the school that he used to go to, the Academia de Belas Artes. And I thought, what a brilliant idea. I thought we'd get something about the same size that we can just tow to the location of different artists around Europe who are interested. I raised this idea at the last meeting, and a whole bunch of people said, yes, I want to invite you to my town to organize a show in one of the big galleries in my town. So the idea is that the person from that town invites us as a group. They are returning to their hometown. They invite us as a group. They put on a show of maybe 20, 30 of their paintings, and then one or two of each of our paintings. And we'll drive around Europe. And I hope that in a year, we'll get, 5 or 6 of these shows happening in different cities across Europe.
And how has the pandemic influenced all of this? Like how hard it was to organize everything and to do even work during the lockdown? What were the advantages? And also maybe there were even some advantages as well, so you can share.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, because I gave up my studies and put them back to that next year, I had tons of time, and I was stuck at home with my wonderful partner, Sarah, and we had all the time in the world, and it was online, so everything could be done online. So, I mean, there were many advantages to setting up an online business in this pandemic. Nobody to disturb us. The most difficult thing was not meeting people, not because I'm a face-to-face person. I'm not really a screen person, and but everybody knew everybody already. So we were already a group of friends, and if I had, I did notice I did bring 2 or 3 people who asked to be part of it, who I didn't know before, and those people started asking all sorts of questions that all the friends didn't, like about the contract, about this, and because they didn't know me, and they hadn't built the trust. I mean, they're fine now, but that was perhaps the only difficult thing we had. Everything else was easy. Hard work, but compared to other things I've done in my life, this has been relatively easy to do. And Artland, the partner that we have, this Danish group, are a very talented group, and if I hadn't found them, I kind of did a lot of scouring of the options, and I'm so happy I found them, because had I not found them, it might have been much, much more difficult. I just yesterday, so we've been working with Klaus Risvig, who's the founder. They founded it 2 years ago. And he was interviewed on a podcast. If you're interested, I can send you the details of that. Gives you an idea about the man behind Artland. No, he must be in his mid to late 30s, talented guy, and they've done a fantastic job, and they've got something like 40 to 50,000 buyers already in their community. So I'm hoping, and he seemed very pleased. We talked to him a few days ago, showed him the show, and he said, well, he's a collector himself. He said, I think this is a wonderful collection, and that I'd like to have some of these paintings on my wall. So he seemed very pleased with what we're doing. But no, it's been easy.
But do you think that because of the situation in the world and the economic impact it had, that will be like one of the difficulties, since people will have less money to buy art, and also with the since you work with young emerging artists, do you think it will be harder for them now to position their work than in like regular circumstances without this pandemic going on?
Well, so the first question, you know, there are lots of people with lots of money in this world. I'm sure lots of people have lost a lot of money and are going to be poor for a long time as a result of this. But maybe we're fortunate that these are not the people who buy art at the level that that we're selling it. So I'm hoping that that will not be a disadvantage. I'm hoping even more that, you know, people are sitting at home, isolated, self-isolated, and wanting to replace the paintings they've been looking at for a long time on their walls because they're stuck there, and just and then start looking and press that buy now button. So I'm hoping that it'll give us new openings, but I can tell you that artists and the artists in this group are not happy with online exhibitions. They really want to exhibit properly. And that's why I really want to do this European tour, to really cement the relationship between us and give us all a platform for you know, for our CV to grow, really, in terms of the things that we've done. And it remains to be seen whether or not the main sales will be from exhibitions or from the online gallery. I suspect, you know, we can never reach an audience as significant as we can with the online gallery in individual physical exhibitions, even in big cities. You know, they're relatively small things. You know, maybe you get 3,000, 4,000 visitors, whereas I'd be interested to see how many visitors we've already got. But I imagine we're getting lots of clicks already. So I don't know. You know, it's completely unknown. I did look at the market, and there is a growing market for online sales for contemporary art, not for other types of art. You know, the Impressionists and the Classicists are no longer selling as well as they used to. The world seems to have switched on to contemporary, and that's what we're doing. So I'm hoping that there'll be a lot of sales, but I just don't know.
And do you think that this pandemic will leave some of the long-term consequences on the art world and the way people will attend exhibitions, auctions?
We're lifting our lockdown in museums in the UK at the end of next week. I'm a member of several of the large galleries. I mean, certainly before the lockdown, you go to any of these large galleries in London, you can't, you know, there are thousands of people in there all the time. They can't allow that anymore. So they're going to have to, you know, have a limited number of people inside the gallery at any time to allow the social distancing to happen. That's going to reduce the numbers enormously. I mean, perhaps by 3/4. So that's definitely going to affect how many people go to it. I mean, I hate queues. The more you have to queue, the less you want to go. So I imagine that's going to drive some traffic to the online market as well. But no, it will change, because this is not going away in a hurry. This will change until we've got a vaccine. this is going to affect the way everything happens.
Lastly, since we are solutions-based journalism site, so there's always an emphasis on solutions. So what kind of solutions would you, from your personal and professional perspective, offer to artists who are struggling now because of the pandemic? And also based on your example and the fact that you have opened up the gallery now and that you didn't stop working in spite of the pandemic, what would be your sort of advice?
You know, I think that the most powerful thing about what we've done is that we've kept people together, kept people meeting online, and it's those artists that, you know, have isolated themselves and not reached out online, and there are a number of those in amongst our community who I had to reach out to and say, you know, come on, come to the next meeting, you know, and, you know, have a good laugh at the meeting, you know. You know, you need that human contact to keep going, to create, to be an artist. Unless you're a very special person, I think everybody needs it. So my big advice is just reach out, create your own groups, create your own community, and make sure that you're continually in contact.
It was really lovely talking to you, and I wish you best of luck with the new project.
Thank you very much.